Well, welcome back to another Premier League predictions. This is game week 35. We're really counting down the fixtures now towards the end, but we still have a few weeks of football left before we say goodbye to the Premier League. Enough waffle, let's just jump into it. We're going to start out with the Saturday fixtures. Got more of a normal game week here, only one double fixture. But yeah, we're going to start off with the Saturday fixtures and West Ham United versus Liverpool. West Ham host Liverpool in East London, as both sides are looking to make a return to winning ways. Liverpool beat Fulham at the weekend before losing to their Merseyside rivals during the week, which is just another bump in the road for Klopp's farewell tour. This takes Liverpool's form to a win and a draw from their last five, which not great form if you're a side chasing the title, but they are still in the race, to be fair to them. West Ham are coming back with a loss as they were dominated by Crystal Palace in South London. This takes the Hammers' form to a win and a draw from their last five. Their European hopes have taken a hit, but it is still very possible for them to finish in the European spot come end of the season. However, I don't see this game helping them in that regard. I'm going to say 2-0 to Liverpool. I am backing Liverpool to claim all 3 points in this clash. Despite their recent drop in form, Liverpool still possess a very strong squad which is full of quality players, and those ranks have been further bolstered by the many injured players making their returns. West Ham haven't been terrible either, but their ability to score goals is massively reliant on Jarrod Bowen, who is still expected to be out for this clash. It's really not looking good for the Hammers, to be honest. West Ham have scored 54 goals this season, with Bowen contributing to 20 of them. Liverpool have scored 75 goals this season, which makes them the third highest scoring side in the league. The Reds also have a far better defence than their opponents, as they've only conceded 34 goals compared to West Ham's 63. I'm sure Liverpool's attackers are looking forward to facing this leaky West Ham back line. I'm backing Liverpool to claim all 3 points and, stay competitive in this title race. It is very, very exciting. And then we move on to Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Luton Town. Wolves host Luton at the Molineux as both sides are looking to make a return to winning ways. Luton Town come back with a loss as they were dominated by Brentford at Kenilworth Road. This is their second successive loss by 4 goals, and it takes their form to 1 win from their last 5. Wolves come back with a loss as well, as they fell to Arsenal at the weekend and Bournemouth during the week. This takes Wolves' form to 2 wins from their last 5. Their slumping form continues, but they do remain solidly mid-table. I'm going to say 2-1 to Wolves. I am backing Wolves to be the ones to make a return to winning ways in this fixture. As I mentioned, Luton have had 10 goals in their last 2 fixtures, which is taking their defence to the second worst in the league. They've now conceded 75 goals this season. Wolves aren't exactly prolific goal scorers, as they've only scored 46 goals this season, but that can be partly attributed to their top goal scorers being injured at various points throughout the season. Hwang and Cunha have made their returns recently though, and against a very leaky Luton side, at least one of them should be amongst the goal scorers, but you'd expect both of them to be honest. Neto is still out though, in what is still a massive loss for Wolves. Honestly, when he's back in the team, they look like a completely different side, but unfortunately, they've just been without him for large swaths of the season, and he doesn't look like he's returning anytime soon. Luton have been slightly better in front of net though, scoring 47 goals, and have scored in 3 consecutive league matches, and will be looking to keep that streak going in the West Midlands. But I am backing Wolves to keep all 3 points, and ultimately, they keep the relegation fight tight for the rest of us. It's fucking Forest and Wolf fans coming together as the blood and the Crips because of a certain Luton Town fan on VAR. And then we move on to Fulham versus Crystal Palace. It's a cross-London clash as Fulham host Crystal Palace in West London in another mid-table clash. Palace are coming back of their second and third successive wins as they dominated West Ham at the weekend and then went on to beat Newcastle in the week. This takes their form to 3 wins from their last 5. It did take a bit of time for Glasner to get going, but now his Eagles are soaring, and quite frankly, they do look unstoppable at points. Fulham are coming back with a loss as they failed to beat Liverpool at Craven Cottage. This takes their form to a win and a draw from their last 5. 3-1 Crystal Palace. I'm backing Palace to continue their brilliant run of form and grab another 3 points here. Fulham have seen a recent dip in form, and I think they'll struggle against this resurgent Palace side. Mateta honestly looks like a new player under Glasner recently, notching 5 goals in his last 4 games and scoring 8 since the Austrian came in. To give you perspective, he'd only scored 1 goal before that. Eze has also been class since returning from injury and getting consistent run of games as well. Fulham don't really have an in-form player at the moment, as Muniz has gone off the boil since his impressive run of games. Fulham have scored 50 goals this season, which is more than their opponents, who have scored 46, but they've also conceded more too, conceding 56 to Palace's 54. So slim margins, but still, they have a bit worse of a defence. Both teams are looking pretty even on paper, but Palace do have the recent form to back up their claim. Ultimately, I think that'll be the deciding factor in who gets the 3 points here. I'm backing the Eagles to take the 3 points to South London. And then we move on to Newcastle United versus Sheffield United. Newcastle United host Sheffield United at St James's Park as both teams are looking to make a return to winning ways. Sheffield United are coming back of losses as they failed to beat Burnley at the weekend and Manchester United during the week. They did perform well against United though, as they forced the hosts to come from behind twice, but didn't have enough to share the points at Old Trafford. This takes the Blades' form to 1 draw from the last 5. And I think if they lose another game, it's over for them. I think if they lose this clash against Newcastle, mathematically they cannot survive. So, a lot riding on it for the Blades. Newcastle are also coming back with a loss as they failed to beat Palace in South London. This takes their form to 3 wins and a draw from the last 5. The Magpies were expecting a good run of form prior to their trip to the capital, and we're hoping to make a swift return to winning ways here. And I'm going to say 3-1 to Newcastle. I am backing Newcastle to claim all 3 points up north. Sheffield United have put up some admirable performances recently, but haven't been able to see those games over the line, and as such are massively impacted in their quest for current league survival. Newcastle United have had a season racked by injuries, but have still put up good performances under Eddie Howe and do find themselves with a chance of European qualification next season. Sheffield United have the leakiest defence in the league though, as they've conceded 92 goals this season. And honestly lads, it looks like we're on course for 100. Come on boys. I know Forest is set to play Sheffield United in the coming weeks, and I would just love it if we put the 100th goal past them, personally. Newcastle have a couple goal scorers at their disposal, and I'm sure the likes of Isak and Gordon will be looking forward to facing the Blades. Newcastle have scored 69 goals this season, and we'll be hopeful they can do so here as well. Maybe not 69 goals, but, 3 or so. Sheffield United do look like scoring 2 though, as we're seeing against Manchester United, and I can see the same happening here as well. Newcastle haven't been resolute at the back as they've conceded 54 goals this season, so it's not great, but it's also not terrible either. I'm backing Newcastle to keep all 3 points in the northeast and take a further step to another season in Europe. Maybe not the Champions League, but Conference League, Europa League, still pretty good. More of a chance of winning those as well. Manchester United versus Burnley. Manchester United host Burnley as the hosts look to start a run of victories in a bid for European football next season. Burnley come back with a win as they beat Sheffield United at the weekend in dominant fashion. This takes the Clarets' form to 1 win and 3 draws from their last 5 as they look to make a late bid for survival. This recent upturn in form has seen them sit 3 points from safety just behind Luton Town and of course Nottingham Forest. Manchester United come back for a win as they also beat Sheffield United. This takes the Red Devils' form to 1 win and 3 draws from their last 5, although they did struggle against the Blades. They were 1-0 down, then 1-0, and then 2-1 down, and then 2-2, and then, the rest is history. You know what? I'm seeing a lot of parallels here. I'm going to say 4-1 to Man United. I am backing Manchester United to claim all 3 points at Old Trafford. As mentioned, Burnley have been playing well this season and have recently seen an uptick in form as they look poised to make a late bid for survival. They've been grinding out draws and getting vital points on the board, which has taken them to 3 points from safety. Manchester United are still challenging for a European spot come end of the season and currently occupy 6th, leading the pack for those elusive extra European spots. I'll be looking to maintain that position come end of the season. United have been decent in front of net this season as they've scored 51 goals, and we're looking forward to facing the 3rd worst defence in the league. Yes, Burnley have currently the 3rd worst defence in the league, as they've conceded 69 goals so far this season. Nice. That's 19 more than their opponents. They've not been terrible in front of net this season though, especially recently, but have only scored 37 goals this season. I can see them scoring against United, much like Sheffield United did, but as with Sheffield United, I do see Manchester United scoring another 4 and putting a dent in Burnley's survival hopes. And then move on to Everton versus Brentford. Everton host Brentford in a big relegation scrap as both teams are battling to avoid dropping into the relegation zone during these final weeks. Brentford come back for a win as dominated Luton Town on the weekend. This takes the Bees' form to 2 wins and 3 draws from their last 5, which is good form for a side looking to avoid the drop. Everton also come back a win as they beat Nottingham Forest in a very controversial match during the weekend, as well as their Merseyside rivals at Goodison for the first time since 2010. Although it's not the last derby win, I think that was 2021 at Anfield. Don't quote me on that though. This takes their form to 3 wins and a draw from the last 5. Another side with some good recent form. Neither side look like dropping down at this point in the season. There's a nice buffer between them and the relegation zone, so I think they're pretty much safe, but nothing's for certain at the moment. The result in this match will go a long way to cementing either team's survival hopes. I'm going to say 2-1 to Everton. I am backing Everton to claim all 3 points at Goodison. The Toffees find themselves 8 points clear of the relegation zone and 7 points ahead of Forest. And discounting a complete capitulation from the Toffees, they're basically safe. Brentford are 10 points from safety and don't really face any risk of being relegated either. Each side has been getting some important points on the board recently, and as such have distanced themselves from the relegation zone. Everton have been quite inconsistent this season, but look to be on for another winning run once again. Again, started by a victory over Forest. Sorry lads. Brentford have been far more prolific in front of net this season, as the Bees have scored 52 goals to Everton's 36, but have also been far leakier at the back as well. Brentford have conceded 59 goals compared to Everton's 48. The Toffees are really good at shutting out teams, and that's been majorly helped by Pickford, who has just made some brilliant saves and is really just carrying this Everton side. I'm surprised a bigger team has not come in for him, to be honest. I'm backing Everton claim the 3 points at Goodison. The recent results will have lifted the crowd, and they'll make Goodison a tough place to go, and I see that carrying Everton over the line. Also, since Dyche has started wearing training gear, they've played quite well and have picked up important points. So maybe that's the secret to success this whole time. And then we move on to Aston Villa versus Chelsea. Aston Villa host Chelsea at Villa Park as Villa look to further cement themselves in a top 4 spot come end of the season. Chelsea went from an emphatic victory over Everton to get absolutely battered by Arsenal at the Emirates. This took Chelsea's form to 2 wins and 2 draws from their last 5, as their decent run of form came to a screeching halt. The Blues did not look at the races this time around and were really feeling the absence of Palmer. Aston Villa come back for a win as they beat Bournemouth in Birmingham. This takes Villa's form to 3 wins and a draw from their last 5, as they continue to cement themselves in that final Champions League spot. These continued impressive results have seen the Villains move 6 points clear of Spurs in the race for Champions League football next season, and I think they'll further cement themselves here. 3-2 to Villa. I'm backing Villa to keep the 3 points in Birmingham. Chelsea have been a very, shall we say, interesting side this season, and you never really know what side is going to show up. As I mentioned, they battered Everton before taking City all the way in the FA Cup semi-finals, only losing on pens, before getting battered by Arsenal. Villa have been much more consistent and better performing side this season, and more so than their opponents for sure, and have reaped the rewards as a result. Chelsea will be looking to salvage anything from the season and will looking to finish as high as they can. There is still possibility of a European spot come end of the season if they manage to clear up their inconsistency, but at the moment that is looking very, very unlikely. Villa have been a very prolific attacking side this season under Emery, and Aston Villa have scored 71 goals so far this season, which is the 4th most of any side in the league. Chelsea have been good in attack too, scoring 61 goals so far, but just don't look great when Palmer is absent. Luckily for the Blues, he is expected back for this clash though. Villa have been better defensively as well, conceding 50 goals to Chelsea's 57. It should be a very interesting game, but I'm backing Villa to keep all 3 points in Birmingham and to further cement themselves for the Champions League next season. And then we'll to the Sunday fixtures, and we start off with Bournemouth versus Brighton. Bournemouth host Brighton at Dean Court as the Cherries look to get a winning run going and end the season on a high. Brighton come back for a loss as they fell to Manchester City on the coast. This takes the Seagulls' form to 2 draws from their last 5, as their European hopes take another blow. Bournemouth lost to Villa in Birmingham before beating Wolves in the West Midlands. This takes the Cherries' form to 2 wins and a draw from their last 5. Both these sides sitting in the mid-table, and winning this clash could break into the top half of the league and possibly finish in a European spot, depending on how their spots are divvied out. I'm going to say 2-1 to Bournemouth. I am backing Bournemouth to claim all 3 points on the south coast. Both sides have been performing quite similarly this season, but overall Bournemouth have enjoyed a better season and have shown how right it was for the Cherries to employ Iraola, even if they did get off to a slow start. Both sides look to play an attractive brand of attacking football, and that's paid dividends for each team as well. Bournemouth haven't been as prolific as their opponents, only scoring 49 goals to Brighton's 52. So not a massive difference, and the Cherries have been worse in defence as well, conceding 60 goals compared to 54 from Brighton. Again, not much separating the two. Both teams also suffer from a lot of injuries as well, with Brighton being the worst off in that department. You can see how these absentees have impacted each team's respective performances. You know, there have been dips when they're out, when there was certain players return, things have begun to rise. Not much separates either side, but I'm also backing Bournemouth to get 3 points in their slice of the coast. And then we move on to Tottenham versus Arsenal. Now this is a potential title deciding North London derby as Spurs host Arsenal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The Gunners are coming back with 2 wins last week as they beat Wolves on the weekend before battering Chelsea during the week. This takes their form to 4 wins from their last 5 as they climbed to the summit of the league. Tottenham coming back with a loss as they were soundly defeated by Newcastle up north. This takes Spurs' form to 2 wins and a draw from their last 5. This is an incredibly important derby, not just to secure the bragging rights in North London, but it could very much decide each team's season and what they're trying to get out of it. Arsenal obviously want to win the title, whereas Spurs want a top 4 finish, and a result here could be vital to both of those results. I'm going to say 2-1 to Spurs. Yes, it may be a very rogue shout from me, but I'm backing Spurs to win the derby and move 1 step closer to a Champions League finish. Spurs have been very inconsistent this season and seem to have gone off the boil recently, but a derby match is a completely different kettle of fish, and if anything's going to get you fired up, it'll be a derby. And you know what? I reckon they will. Arsenal have been enjoying a good season and as such see themselves challenging for the title once again. They currently find themselves a point clear of City, so looking to end their 20-year dry spell. Well, obviously they won trophies in the 20 years, but it's been 20 years since they won a Premier League title. and they look poised to do so. Both teams play some great attacking football, and this can be seen in each side's goal scoring prowess. The Gunners have scored 82 goals so far this season, which gives them the best attack in the league, while Spurs have scored 65. The Gunners also have the superior defence as well, only conceding 26 goals so far this season. Spurs on the other hand have conceded 49. Now on paper, Arsenal are the better side, but that all goes out the window when it comes to a big derby match, and that's exactly what we've got here. The North London derby has given some brilliant moments, and I suspect we'll see more of that here. I'm backing Spurs to keep the 3 points in their slice of North London and move one step closer to Champions League football. Then the final Sunday clash is Nottingham Forest versus Manchester City. Nottingham Forest hosts Manchester City at the City Ground, as both teams are in need of some points to end their seasons on a high. Manchester City come back with a win as they breeze past Brighton on the south coast. This takes City's form to 4 wins and a draw from the last 5, as they keep the title race competitive. Nottingham Forest come back with a loss as they failed to beat Everton at Goodison Park, although this was a match marred by controversy, as Forest were denied multiple penalties, and ultimately led to the team putting out a statement questioning the powers that be, and that pissed off quite a few people. This takes their form to 1 win and 2 draws from their last 5, and really damages their survival hopes, to say the least. I'm going to say 4-1 to City. I am backing City to claim all 3 points here. Manchester City may have failed to retain their European crown. Forest were the last English team to do that, but will still be looking to retain their English one. They need to be targeting maximum points from the remaining fixtures and hope that Arsenal slip up. They'll see struggle as Forest as the perfect opportunity to do that. Forest are in a vital need of points to secure another season of Premier League football, but it's not looking good as they sit just a point above the relegation zone, although it's better to be above it than in it. City have once again been prolific goal scorers this season and as such have scored 80 goals so far this season. This ranks them second in the league for goals scored. Nottingham Forest haven't been terrible in front of net though, scoring 42 goals this season, but there's also a massive disparity between each side's defence as well, with City only conceding 32 goals so far, whilst Forest conceded 60. I think it's a pretty safe bet that City will score multiple times here and leave the East Midlands with a very important 3 points for their title challenge, and leave Forest floundering once again. It's tough, man. It's tough out here for real. And finally, the Thursday fixture of Chelsea versus Tottenham. Chelsea hosts fellow London side Spurs in a West versus North London clash. Both these sides are playing football at the weekend though, so at the time of writing it is impossible to know how those fixtures could go and they'll ultimately swing how this match goes too. Should Spurs beat their North London rivals, they'll be full of confidence going to this clash. Likewise, if Chelsea beat Aston Villa, they'll be confident as well. And as we know, confident breeds results. But with this match taking place so long after these weekend fixtures, there's no telling how things are going to go and how that will affect the teams. Players could be injured, players could be returning, we just don't know. But I'm going to say 3-2 to Spurs. I am backing Spurs to take all 3 points in North London. From how it's looking at the moment, I think Spurs are the most likely to win this match. The last time these two sides faced, it was one of the best matches of the season. Spurs went ahead early on within 6 minutes, but by the end of the night were down to 9 players and had conceded 4 goals, including a Nicholas Jackson hat-trick. Conceding 3 goals to Nicholas Jackson is a war crime. Quite frankly, how do you manage that? And luckily for Spurs, I don't think that'll happen here. I think this clash in West London will swing in Spurs' favour. You know, Chelsea are far too inconsistent this season, and you never know what Chelsea side will show up. You know, knowing Chelsea, this will be a world-beater side that just plays brilliant football, but from what I've seen and what I'm looking at the moment, that just doesn't seem to be the case. I'm backing the 3 points to get taken up north. Well, North London. So yes, those are my game week predictions for game week 35. I've been O2GT. Hope you have enjoyed. If you have any predictions of your own, please do leave them down in the comments below. I do enjoy reading them. And yeah, it looks like a very exciting week of Premier League action. I'm looking forward to that North London derby more than my own team getting battered. But I think that's a given at this point. Yeah, hope you have a brilliant rest of your day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.